It's 21 degrees right now in Texas. I think I'm dying. For those of you living in cold weather, I just don't know how you do it. But I'm not gonna let cold weather stop me. The show still must go on. This is a 2024 Porsche Macan S, and in this video, I'm gonna compare this one to what I have today, which is my used 2016 Porsche Macan S. This car cost almost $100,000, so what I'm wondering is if this car is really 3 times the car that I have, which I paid a little over $30,000 for. The Macans are really excellent SUVs, and if you've seen any of my previous videos, you know how much I love my Macan. Check them out if you haven't seen them already. Although on the surface, this Macan looks a lot like mine, there's one big difference. This one has 375 horsepower, 383 pound-feet of torque, as compared to mine, which is 340 horsepower, 339 pound-feet of torque. This Macan can get you from 0 to 60 in about 4.5 seconds, whereas mine takes about 5 seconds. And trust me, you do feel the difference with the extra speed that this one has. This one also has a Sport Chrono package, which gives you things like launch control and these different drive modes. You can get Sport and Sport Plus. Mine, you just have one single Sport button. With the Sport Chrono package, you get something called Sport Response. Just push this button, and you get 20 seconds of extra power and overboost to play with and have some fun. You can also measure lap times on the track. This is certainly something I don't have. This one comes with the Porsche Active Suspension Management, or PASM. It's something that I don't have, and it has adaptive air suspension. So right now you're seeing the normal ride height. Now I'm gonna get it to the lowest setting. So if you're in a mood to really want to enjoy the Macan, lower the car like it is right now and have at it. With PASM, you can also select your air suspension settings. You have your option of Comfort, Sport, Sport Plus. I have to say that having those ride options and having PASM is a pretty good feature to have on this Macan, especially when your Macan comes with giant wheels. Speaking of wheels, Porsche has some pretty nice looking wheels on this one. I like the ones that I have on mine as well. Porsche is one of the few car manufacturers that actually designs wheels that really fit the design of their cars. The air suspension on this does do a really good job of absorbing bumps, and I would say the ride is actually more comfortable than what I have. I don't have air suspension or PASM, especially considering the fact that if you do want to engage in some spirited driving and toss this thing around the turns, the PASM and the air suspension do give you a better ride experience. I like the feel of the steering a little bit better on my older Macan. It has a bit of a heavier feel to it, more substance. This is a little light compared to that. But all in all, both cars handle brilliantly. The best thing about these Macans is even though they're SUVs or crossovers, they handle and feel like a sports car. With the lowered suspension, it feels even more car-like than before. This Macan does come with a $3,000 Sport exhaust option. And with that option, you do have a button to open up the exhaust more and make it louder. Without that button pushed, here's what it sounds like. Here's what it sounds like with the exhaust flaps open. Love the extra power in this thing compared to what I have. I have to say that the exhaust does sound better than what I have in my 2016 Macan. And $3,000 is a lot for having a sport exhaust option, but it makes a difference. Especially with all the new cars that are being built, everything is just so quiet. I'll take any exhaust option that I can get. A lot of this car feels so similar to mine, which just tells you that Porsche makes such good cars that year after year they can stick with largely the same thing and not have to change it much. Because hey, if it's not broken, don't fix it. For the most part, this Macan looks the same way that mine does, even though this is 8 years newer. The side profile is almost exactly the same. You could argue that the front end is slightly edgier, a little bit more aggressive than what I have on my Macan. The most noticeable difference is this back taillight where it spans across horizontally. On mine, you have 2 distinct taillights. The tailpipe layout looks the same as mine, but these are definitely bolder, more aggressive looking. On the inside of this 2024 Macan, some things are almost exactly the same as what I have in my car, but some things like the tech on the inside is different. The door panel's pretty much exactly the same, no difference whatsoever. Sitting behind the wheel, the gauges on the dash are the same as what I have in my 2016 Macan. Especially this Macan logo, it's essentially a lift and shift. The center stack is different. You have this nice display here. And then all the physical buttons, this whole center stack of buttons that I have in my Macan, have been replaced with these ones that have a haptic feedback. And as you can see, there's a lot of reflection on these buttons. So when the sun's out, the glare can be pretty crazy on this glossy black finish. Here you pretty much have all of your standard tech, everything that's available in modern day cars today. Besides the touchscreen, you do have a physical knob that you can twist, and you have your physical volume button here as well. You have a loud exhaust button option, which I wish I had on my car. The climate control positioning, the way it works up here, is the same as how it works on mine. The steering wheel is almost designed exactly the same way. It's not quite as thick as what I have. I actually prefer the one that I have over this one, but the controls on the steering wheel are all the same. This Porsche doesn't even have that many options, and it's still $92,000. Can you imagine if you checked all the boxes on the many Porsche options that you can get? This could easily be a $130,000, $40,000 Macan. In the back, it's still pretty tight, just like my Macan. This would not be something you should get if you have to regularly haul around a lot of passengers. The dash, the seating position, the interior, all feels very familiar. Not much, if anything, has changed on that front. You still start the car with your key that's already integrated. This one does have lane change assist. Other than what you have on the screen and the center layout, it's all pretty much the same as my 2016 Macan. After spending some time with this 2024 Macan, I really think you should save your money and find yourself a used one, because ultimately there's really not that much of a difference. You could find a used Macan for the mid-20s, and at that price point, it becomes a no-brainer of a purchase. This one is faster for sure, but you could always get a used Macan GTS, which would be about as fast as this one. The good news though is that the Macan is still as good as ever, and I hope this one continues to stick around, because this is one of the best cars that's on the road today.